Hello, fellow adventurers. I'm still trying to get used to this shorter 5-minute style of content. There's just so much to say. But hopefully, it's more appealing to YouTube and more appealing to you. I'm Lewis Nichols, and I've been a world builder for a few decades now. I've tried, tested, failed many times, and steadily improved my craft along the way. My goal is to spark just one tiny bit of inspiration for you. Today, we're going to talk about the city of Malice in the Derberg River Valley. We're a little ways into that series, so it really wouldn't hurt to go back and watch at least some of the earlier videos in this playlist. But if you don't, that's okay too. Our goal this time around is to get out my development document and just answer a few questions. Just making sure we're all on the same page. What I call a development document is just a Word file where I keep all my ideas for world building stuff. It's more of a checklist than anything. It's a list of cultural, geographical, and physical type decisions that I can make. It's got a big chart of potential businesses for an area and their possible level of advancement. I've got a big list of questions that anyone can ask about their region of interest in order to flesh out the details of world building. Today, we're just going to pick a handful of those questions and see what comes of it. How intermingled or diverse is this city? We haven't talked much about demographics, which is surprising because I really love me some racial profiles. Humans, tieflings, half-orcs, and gnomes make up about 70% of the valley's population of Leto. The rest is a mix of Genasi, Kinku, Firbolg, dwarves, and a few changelings. Sprinkle in some strong, somewhat integrated species of non-Velito, orc, minotaur, hobgoblin, yuan-ti, and kobold, just to polish off a fairly diverse population. What do people wear? Do we all know about flax? Little seeds full of fibers that can be spun into fabric? People have been doing this pretty much since back to the Stone Ages. Most commonly, it was an Egyptian and Fertile Crescent thing. It dominated the linen industry and played a big role in the first industrial revolution before it was eventually supplanted by cotton. Flax is a cash crop in the river valley, and industry based in Malice turns it into clothing. The current fashion is light and breezy. A wool jacket is often worn when the wind blows from the north, and when it gets hot, well, law and order doesn't have to mean conservative. Toplessness is normal when the weather is appropriate, so give up those bashful tendencies before coming to visit. What forms of art are popular? Public statues are a big thing in urban areas. They are most always bronze, white marble, or black obsidian. The bronze has to be imported from the London Vale, but the stone is quarried locally. This makes bronze more expensive, but that also means it makes it more of a statement. Statues of past heroes are common, but animals, religious symbols, and geometric forms are around as well. This is not to say there isn't painting or other forms of art. It's just not so venerated locally as casting or carving. Are there printing presses and newspapers? There is a local state-run paper and several smaller outlets that operate under strict rules of content. Talk bad about pretty much anything local and you're going to get in trouble. On the tech side of it, you might as well forget about printing presses. The government tends to suppress technologies that can cost jobs, even among the unpaid labor positions. Really, printing presses are not exactly common anywhere in Northwest Marikoth. What are the houses like? Housing is fairly spacious with full kitchens, hampers, and servants' quarters. Even the most middle-class homes have a second sitting room so the heads of household can escape the rest of the house. Sometimes these are referred to as napping rooms. Well, I need one of those. Why did people originally settle here? Malice is a very old city. It's been rocked by floods and earthquakes many, many times and built over itself. It always makes a comeback. In the 360s BHA, well, that was a very important decade, but there is evidence of major urban buildings even before that. Some records indicate the city began as an outpost of Mammon in a time before Velito became distinct from other humanoids. The city is at a slow point on the river. The old city is on a high enough rise to generally avoid flooding in most years. Cultivation is easy on the floodplain. Taking the entire valley into account, just iron plows and a little organization could feed millions. What factions operate within the city? There are several major temples in the city, each big enough to have specific wants and needs. There is a dock workers union representing the ship's crews, fishermen, and teamsters of the city. We have a legitimate thieves guild, and they are not run by any government officials. The city considers them a real problem and vigilantly works towards their eradication. Meanwhile, the guild grows rich, selling illegal products and bypassing tariffs. Well, that's all the time we have, and it barely feels like we made a dent. But we have cleared up a few things. Reinforced decisions and made some new ones. Thanks for joining me on this mission. I can't talk about the city of Malice forever, so it's time for you guys to influence the channel. If you want to hear more about it, leave a comment. There's certainly more work I can do. You can be vague or specific, but give me a little direction. I want to know what you want to hear. In the meantime, I hope you are all enjoying this early spring. You folks have a wonderful rest of the day. You make a difference in the world. You make it a better place. Until next time, cheers.